People don't want to listen to the truth because they are too caught up in their feelings of hatred. They are stuck in their echo chamber. You know why they are calling me a groomer, right? It has a lot of purposes. A, because grooming is a bad thing. Coercing children into sexual relationships with people much older than them, people that they trust, is a bad thing. Getting kids to trust you, building a relationship in order to take advantage of them is a bad thing. Conservatives love doing that. Pastors in churches love doing that. The Catholic Church is notorious for it. And then they started pushing the idea that, no, it's not actually the Catholic Church. It's not actually people who have a bond with a child. It is actually gay people. And they were pushing this lie decades ago. And people here like, oh, leave the kids alone. Oh, do that and that. Oh, you're grooming. Oh, kids aren't actually gay. Kids aren't actually trans. In order to invalidate our talking points. In order to deny children access to critical education and healthcare. And making us out to be something bad while watering down the term and projecting from their own awful behavior. It is always really painful. You know that there are so many people in the LGBTQ community who have been abused by cis people, with their parents, by their uncle and whatnot, being forced to act straight, being forced into suppressing who they are, being abused by people who are leading these conversion camps and whatnot. It is a topic that affects a lot of us. People just downplaying that, invalidating our struggles, invalidating our existence. It's just painful. At least they've moved on. Yeah, they're going to come back again. They knew that they weren't getting anywhere with this. It's like the second time he went after me. First time I was in the hospital recovering from surgery. They didn't want to really engage with it. Kind of panicked. This time, I actually engaged with him, with his transphobic wife. Professor wife. Yes, and she's just as bad as he is. There's a reason why I always avoid Twitter. Yeah, best to just avoid it. Not gonna lie. I don't know. I'm kind of masochistic, but I feel like because like last week was just like so much hatred that like I just need a break at this point, because I realized that I basically being consumed by the drama. Sounds like you need a hug. I mean, I always need a hug. This is the second time Ref is after me. And before that, we had the lolicon situation where they were coming out of the woodworks. Being the target of like this sort of harassment is always a lot. But I guess that's what I get for speaking out. That's what I get for not being apolitical, and instead being one of those trans people who actually voice their opinion. My bad, it will happen again. I want to start streaming, but I'm scared of the abuse. Do you have any advice? I think if you start out streaming, if you start out with everything, then you don't really face that much abuse. It will have a balance. Like, it kind of depends. Like, when I was posting on TikTok and whatnot, like, until the algorithm figured out, push my content to other trans people and whatnot, I had a lot of people harass me, and that can be really frustrating. Outside, a lot of people always coming into my chat and being like, ha, I hate LGBTQ. And I think, like, the problem is, like, if you have 3 viewers, and one of these people come into your chat, then it feels kind of shitty. It feels even worse when these people decide to send their hate Discord after you. It sucks that is like my recommendation, but it's just like, it's something that you have to experience multiple times to know how to handle it. To understand that these people are literally just there to make you feel shitty. It can ruin your day. And when it keeps happening, it's just going to bring you down. But it's just, you know, just trying to find like a community, trying to build your own community of people who support you, and getting yourself out there. So you have to be the target of this hate, especially for how disgusting the reasons behind it are. Fighting against hate is never easy or simple. They try to wear you down and make you shut up. Thank you for being the voice of sanity. I'm trying my best. You know, doesn't all of this leave you exhausted, always having to counter these arguments? You have to understand that I pick my battles. Transphobia is always the same talking point. You can make a bingo card with what they're going to say next. It is always like the same claims. Like, oh, trans kids don't exist. Every kid who thinks they're trans have been groomed. Pushing the idea that we are performing surgeries on children. Oh, if I was an 8-year-old and I felt like a girl, you would just lock me up in a room and perform bottom surgery on me. It's like, it's always like the same stuff. It's always the same rhetoric. And you kind of have to pick your battles. I'm not responding to everyone who throws slurs at me. I'm not responding to everyone who pushes the rhetoric. You cannot argue with these people. Most of the time they're bots. And you literally have to pick your battles. What I do is I tend to use people's comments and I quote tweet them in order to get my message out there. I'm picking things that I want to talk about in that moment, quote tweeting it or taking like a screenshot and like tweeting about that. But I never go into it thinking that I will change anyone's mind. And that is like the most frustrating part, when you know that you're right. You know, you have like the facts to back everything up. You know, all the claims, you know, everything that they are pushing, but people don't want to listen to it. People don't want to listen to the truth because they are too caught up in their feelings of hatred. They are stuck in the echo chamber, even though that they push the idea that you are actually in the echo chamber because you support trans rights and you don't acknowledge someone else's opinion. Even though you just heard the same stuff over and over again, you're able to dismiss it because it's not factually correct. And also, calling Twitter an echo chamber for the left wing is kind of insane in of itself. Like, that is literally insane to claim that we are stuck in an echo chamber when talking about things on Twitter. It is a right-wing hellhole. It's full of propaganda bots, full of hatred. You know, these people dehumanize you in order to justify the worst things. They think that it's like some sort of gotcha moment to be like, ha, you only have 3 months to live anyway. They also think it's some sort of gotcha to be like, actually 41% of you are ending their lives anyway. You should join them. Even though the statistic was just about having suicidal thoughts, which obviously a lot of us have because we've been abused in multiple ways. Trans people are suicidal, say the people harassing and stalking trans people into being suicidal. Yeah, exactly. They also think that it's like some sort of flex to be like, so and so many people who receive gender affirming care are still suicidal. And it's like, yeah, because you ostracize us, take away our rights. You take away our healthcare. You push your harmful rhetoric in order to drive us into suicidal tendencies. You bully us into it. And this harassment is not just online. They know that we are dysphoric about a lot of things and they weaponize it against us. They have this weird urge to always push the idea that it is essential for a trans person to go through the wrong puberty, their biological puberty, which doesn't align with their gender identity, and then shame us for not fulfilling the stereotypical traits of what is expected of women or men in society. They shame me for my voice, despite me putting in a lot of effort in order to undo the damage done to me by testosterone. They shame me for my body. Shame me because, I don't know, my breasts aren't big enough or whatnot. Even though I'm basically 3 years into puberty. So you're essentially being like, why is this 15-year-old's booba not big enough? Which is kind of insane to think about. Not that I'm anywhere near a 15-year-old. However, when it comes to puberty and the gradual progression of what people with the same balance of estrogen and testosterone go through, I am kind of on par with someone in that age group. All that being said, I don't want people to stoop down to that level. I don't really want people in my own community to lose brain cells by attacking these people, harassing these people back. I don't condone that. I think what they're doing is incredibly cruel. And if you do that, then the same goes for you. Not that I had that many people, you know, do these things, but it does happen, especially like on Twitter. Obviously, people do get really emotionally invested, especially when they see other people being attacked. But I don't want people to like fight in my comment section like that, because I get notified of these things too, and oftentimes I don't really like what I'm seeing, because a lot of people highlight that stuff. You know, like when I post a tweet and I have like 15 replies that are hidden because they are from accounts that are marked as spam, I'm not getting notifications for it. But if you reply to that, then I'm seeing the notifications. There's not really a point in engaging in this way. I do appreciate when people support me. I do appreciate when people have my back when I do these like tweets and I'm like, hey, you know, I was a trans kid despite not having the proper education and whatnot. I appreciate when people come around and they're like, hey, you know, I feel a similar way. I also have like this trans regret of not transitioning sooner, which is the most common form of trans regret, but not really what these people want to talk about when it comes to trans regret. You also don't really need to go in there and try to change the mind of the people who harass me, because you can't. It just doesn't work. I sometimes feel bad when I basically interact with these people and then other people see it and interact with it too, because I know that these people are literally just there to waste your time, and sometimes I just interact in order to have something to talk about, have some form of content, you know. But yeah, that's basically it. That's how I handle that type of stuff. That's how I cope. That's how I take care of myself. And sometimes I get emotionally invested in this too, because it is a topic that affects me deeply. It is a topic that affects my loved ones. It is painful to fight the mountain of hatred when you know that you're right and you have the data to back it up, when you know you have the science, you know that it's just a culture war, an artificially created culture war in order to gain powers of fascist parties. It makes you feel helpless. They do not have any empathy. They're extremely ignorant, uneducated, misinformed, painfully arrogant, and most of the time they have a platform that is bigger than yours because these people boost each other, and social media has been rewarding that type of stuff, that reactionary shit. And even though they are basically lying, it doesn't matter because the truth doesn't matter anymore. But we still push through. We still try to do whatever we can in order to get through this, to fight through this, in order to combat the hatred. And if I can better the life, I can help someone understand themselves better. Maybe I can help a parent of a trans child understand their child better. Maybe I can help a cis friend understand their trans friends better. And I think that is why I keep going. I know how difficult it is as a trans person to talk about trans topics with cis people, because it makes you feel like that nobody understands you. Every time I've been dogpiled for being trans, it feels like I get let off easy when they spread my selfies and see the kind of trans person. They Google in incognito mode, skinny and white, which feels not much better. It's always so fascinating when they go after trans women who are conventionally attractive women, because you know that these are the types of people who would walk up to them on the street and hit on them and then get mad because they're being denied. But yeah, like, if you're a trans person, I know how difficult it is to talk to your friends and family about being trans, about the things that go on inside your head, because it's so difficult to put into words, let alone into words that someone who doesn't relate to it understand what you're going through. It is incredibly mentally exhausting because it's such an emotionally charged topic. So I'm glad that I can just like talk about these things, give people a space to talk about these things, and maybe like a cis person who is an ally is going to come around and be like, hey, I have trans friends. Your videos help me understand what is going on inside my friend's head a little bit better. Obviously, what I'm saying is not the universal experience. We're not a hive mind. You know, we are not being created by big trans, even though the transphobes want you to believe that, which is artificially created, put together, like the Powerpuff Girls. But that is not the case, and you should always like talk to your friends about that. But it can give you a little guideline in order to have some point of reference, some talking points. Something that you really have to understand is that not all trans people experience gender dysphoria, let alone the same level of severity of gender dysphoria. They might be dysphoric about different things or nothing at all. So this is not a universal experience.